It's time to draft. It's time to live draft on Underdog Fantasy promo code Smitty. And that link is pinned in the live chat already. So you can get your draft on with me, with the boys here tonight. Travis in the building, Sebastian in the building. Who else is here? First in the building was D-Town though. Then Aldi. Then Josh. Then Matt O. Then Sebastian and Travis and the boys. I appreciate you all being here. We draft most midnights. We're live whenever big news breaks. I'm live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And the midnight shows we call the Graveyard Show. The Fantasy Football Show. Graveyard style, draft style begins right. Where's my graveyard button?
You're watching a
Graveyard Stream.
Begins now.
Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios. It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live! Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Smitty is also live whenever news breaks.
Live whenever news breaks. But Smitty, how do I get in this draft, Smitty? The link's pinned in the live chat, Bob. You can jump right in by clicking that pinned link, and Underdog will match your first deposit up to 50%. So you deposit 100, they'll give you 50. The minimum's only $10, and we're going to jump into a $4 draft. I think it's a $4 draft. We're going to go into the puppy draft. So for those of you that want to get in the puppy 2, it's a $5 draft, puppy 2. It is probably like 5, 6, 7 cards down. I'll give you about 2 to 3 minutes to get your bearings. Open up the Underdog app. If you don't yet have the app, you got to click the link that's pinned in the live chat. I'll even drop the link one more time. It's in the live chat, pinned, but here it is again. So if you miss out on this draft, sign up now so you're ready next time, or just jump in a draft right alongside of us. Sometimes it's even better because you get to be like a round behind and you get to see what we do, and you deploy it and strike gold. Hit the puppy 2 card. Hit the green button. I'm going to go in 5 because there's a YouTube delay. 4, 3, smash. Puppy 2, here we come. And let me put the puppy 2 on screen so you guys can follow along. And if you missed out again on this draft, don't fret. Don't get mad. Don't be upset. Don't be up in arms. Just get ready for the next one. We do this pretty much every night, almost every night, on Underdog Fantasy, promo code Smitty. There it is. 1 pick. We got the 1 pick.
Mashed potatoes!
Now we're doing the Christian McCaffrey strategy with this 9 times out of 10, right? Occasionally, I do like to build a Bijan team from the one spot because you do get to find different talent you normally don't get to find. You know, like you're going to have a different team build from the 1. So if you only go Christian McCaffrey and he goes down, I'd even say, you know what? Let me amend that. I'm going to go McCaffrey from the 1 only 70% of the time now. I've got so many shares from the 1 already. I feel comfortable with it. I'd rather just let's go with jeez. I'm going to go with Lamb here. We're going to do it. I'm going to go Lamb. I'm going to get myself a wide receiver so I don't get boxed out. And also, again, like I said, I don't want to have just Christian McCaffrey shares from that 1 spot, because if he goes down, all of my number 1 draft slot teams that can be very, very good from that slot are all done. I want to have some diversity there. So we'll go with Lamb. I do not mind going Chase there. I don't mind going Hill. I think you know what? I think I've decided right here on this live stream. This is the way my mind operates. I'm a very much I wear my emotions on my sleeve. I digest stuff in front of you guys live. I think I've decided I'm no longer going 100% Christian McCaffrey from the 1. I already got a lot of shares of it because I draft so much. I don't want my number 1 overall teams to be contingent upon only Christian McCaffrey. We're going to mix it up a little bit. So let's go wide receiver here and see what we can do. Yeah, this draft's going to be tough to get some of the guys to fall. But you know what? You can't reach. I mean, Everyone's gonna take Achane at. You guys don't let anybody fall. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but like at some point during the draft, you got to make sure you get what's given to you and use this opportunity to potentially draft a team you wouldn't normally draft. You know, I'm not saying people shouldn't take who they want. I'm just saying, like, we shouldn't be taking a guy like Ricky Parasol in round 7 because you know everyone in here wants him. Just if you don't get him in this particular draft, you don't get him in this particular draft. You know, so be it. Don't get all crazy over it. Sebastian likes Chase at that pick. I'm glad I went wide receiver. I think I'm going to enjoy this pick. What's up, Mantis? Mantis in the building. What is up, my people? I'm not into this Devontae Adams number 17 overall. He's going to hit the... I think we already put him... Did we already put him on here?
The Moon Men, dropping loads and off he goes to the planet known as Uranus.
I think I'm going to put Adams down here. Let's put Adam. I don't have his image right here. We'll come back to it. Adams. We're going to put Adams on the board. I know a lot of you aren't going to like that. Jordan Addison. What in the Sam Tarnation? Part of me wonders, does this draft get thrown out now? Like, am I going to get an email because Mr. Prestique is screwing the entire draft up with Jordan Addison at 19 overall? What in the hell is wrong with that? What in the hell are you doing, bro? What in the Sam Tarnation are you doing? Jordan Addison at 9. Are we going to get one of those emails that says, I'm sorry, this draft's been compromised? Are we going to get that email? What in the hell's going on here? Unbelievable. Let's go. Woo! This is nice. Do I go with... Oh, I got to open the phone line. The phone line's not even open. Do I go with Debo here? I'm going to go double RB. I'm going to reach a little bit on Henry. I'm going to lower Hchan's ADP as much as or Kyron's ADP as much as I can. I like this squad. You know, Henry's a little bit concerning, I admit, but it's still fun. It's 14, 15 touchdown capable. Not to mention, in best ball, better to take Henry in best ball than non-best ball, because you know your bad weeks for him are supplemented for you. It's optimal scoring. You don't decide to put him in. What is this guy doing? What's he gonna do here? Why would you spend $5 why would you flush $5 down the toilet taking Jordan Addison at 19 overall? This is probably the dumbest draft selection I've seen in the entirety of the offseason. Wow. Sebastian, you're live. What is this guy doing in the what is it, 6th spot? What's he doing? Hello?
Can you hear me?
Sebastian?
You're on mute.
Yeah.
Are you able to hear me? Okay, cool. You know how those round 2 wide receivers pretty much after Drake London are pretty disgusting for their ADP?
Which one? Which wide receivers after London? Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much Adams to like Waddle,
Yeah.
Debo, Evans,
Yeah.
Neighbors.
That's why I like CeeDee Lamb at 1 instead of. But sometimes like Debo was there. I'm fine. I'm actually really fine with Debo. I'm fine with DK if I need to like push the envelope. But I don't like Nico, don't like Waddle, don't like Ayuk, don't like Jordan Addison. I'm not real keen on the Jordan Addison at 19 overall. Chris Olave, I'm starting to like a lot more, but I'm definitely not taking him at 18. Devontae Adams, I just put him on the Planet Uranus list. I mean, that's why, but that doesn't mean I don't go running back in round 1 and go running back. Like, I'm totally fine with that. But what in the Sam Tarnation is this guy doing? Jordan, I mean, Kelsey, that's kind of back on track. It's not like he's trolling his whole team. I know he's trying to stack. I know he's trying to stack the Viking wide receivers because he's doing something. But like, you could have waited until round 4 to reach on that, and we would still laughed at it. Like right here, he's on the clock right here. He could have taken Addison here, and we would have laughed our pants off. Like, what are we doing it in round 2? I hope this is not one of my guys. Look, I don't even feel bad. Like, I'm gonna tell him straight to his face. You need some work, and you need some tough love on this situation. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it for you. If you're one of my people, you should be ashamed of yourself drafting Jordan Addison at 19 overall. Good Lord.
So, you know what I actually noticed with Adams? I just found out why he is going that high. If you compare his target share to those second-round wide receivers, if you're only going off of recency, the reason why he is going so high is because he did have that target share. But I'm totally with you. I totally do think he's
well, I mean, yeah, there's reasons why.
Player.
There's reasons why, but like it doesn't. I mean, he's an old dog.
Yeah.
No,
sure.
thank you. No, thank you. I don't know if this M. Suffman is one of our people either. I don't know that he is. I don't think he is. Lamar Jackson. Okay. Wow. Whew. My team is straight balls to the wall fire. I'm going to take Mahomes here. There's no way I'm passing on Mahomes here. The question is, do I go McBride? Do I go Jacobs? I only have one wide receiver right now, but I don't care. Trey McBride is phenomenal right here. Kincaid? Jeez. I don't think the receivers are tickling my fancy here. I'm going to go McBride. Holy shit!
Mashed potatoes!
I mean, I know I toot my own horn quite a bit, but I'm ready to toot quite a bit more tonight than normal. Look at that squad.
McBride at 40. Wow, that's really good. And that Mahomes didn't go early.
I mean, what are we doing here? If this draft gets thrown out because of Mr. Prestige and his draft style, I'm going to be one pissed individual. I'm going to be one mad mofo. Do you get an email when that happens? Like, how does that happen? I've heard that before. I've never been in a draft where it's been thrown out.
I've never got that email before, and I've already been a couple hundred drafts, and I've never got that email unless I totally missed it. But I check my email every day.
I mean, I don't like the worthy pick either, but it's not like he's been out of pocket on anything else, really. It's like all arguable, especially if you're aiming to do a certain stack of some kind or whatever the hell. But like, wow, I mean, Jordan Addison, what are we doing back there?
Kelsey went.
We're hang gliding. We're dead.
39.
Idiot. Oh my God. He might have queued it up, says Troy. I don't know. Maybe, like, I'd have to see if he timed out. If he timed out, that would explain it. But why you gonna, in the second round, be scrolling down to Addison and queuing him? Like, that makes no sense either. You know what this could be? If there was an explanation. Sometimes people will mess with the ADP queue, and they don't know that they're saving it or something. And you could have just one guy clicked and he doesn't know what he's doing. And he clicked on Addison and it put him like in number 1. And then whenever he times out, it goes to his ranking list. And I don't know. I don't know. Do they cancel it over one stupid move like that? I don't think so. I think you're allowed to have your own opinion. Like that's a wild opinion, but it is. I think you're allowed to be a little bit, it's best ball. Like if somebody wanted to stack that Jordan Addison and JJ together for whatever reason, that'd be great if he won it. I'd actually be proud of him. I would not be ashamed of my comments. It would make it even more funny. But does anybody know?
If he really wanted to do it, he could have done it in that Worthy pick.
That's what I'm saying.
At 54, that would have been. Yeah.
Even so, I said if he did it at the 43 pick, we would have laughed at him still. But like, he did it in the second round, which is crazy. Go ahead, Travis. You're live. What's up? That was wild.
So, is Devontae Adams on your end just because of the ADP alone, or?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look. If
I understand
if Cup climbed
ADP,
to, go ahead.
I was gonna say I understand the ADP argument. Aside from that, though, like I see him getting 150 targets at least again in that offense. Like I don't really see much changing for him, honestly.
Ziggy, how old is Devontae Adams?
Davante Adams is 31 years old and was born on December 24th, 1992.
Turns 32 in the middle or at the end of the year, though. During the season, while plays going on, during the final most important week of the year, he'll be 32, or important month of the year, he'll be 32 years old.
Yeah.
Not saying it's not possible.
Mike Evans.
Yeah, not saying it's
Mike
not
Evans
possible.
Turns 31 in August.
Yeah, it's just a dangerous game you play, It's just a very, very dangerous game. This is interesting right here, what to do here. Lab McConkey's nice. Hopkins is nice. I think I like Brian Thomas Jr. here. I think he's going to get tons of volume. I'll go Brian Thomas Jr. here. That's my second wide receiver, though. I mean, I definitely. Now, do I go Hopkins, McConkey, Christian Watson, or do I go with one of the RBs that I love so much that probably won't swing back to me? I probably need a wide receiver.
Running back.
I think I'm gonna put my balls on the table here because I've got so many safe picks. I'm gonna go a little bit risky. I'm gonna go Brian Thomas Jr., Christian Watson, CeeDee Lamb. Kind of a very, very ballsy wide receiver core. But like I look, that's my only like ballsy approach. I've got Derrick Henry, Kyron Williams, Patrick Mahomes, and Trey McBride. Yeah, okay, so back to the Adams thing. Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. It's a good debate. Like, I look at Adams.
I don't. Sorry, go ahead.
I look at Adams and I say to myself, like, yeah, here's a guy that probably will play very well per start. I don't think I've seen drop off, but Hopkins looks like he's right there as well. Ziggy, how old is DeAndre Hopkins? Ziggy, how old is DeAndre Hopkins?
DeAndre Hopkins is 32 years old and was born on June 6, 1992.
Okay, so he just turned 32. They're about a half a year apart, roughly. And I don't know about you, but I feel like I draft Hopkins sometimes, but every time I do it, I just wonder if I'm throwing the pick down the toilet. I wonder if I should be going with, like I just did. I went with Christian Watson or Brian Thomas Jr. Just because at some point, it might not happen right away, but at some point during this year, he's going to have some sort of injury or his talent will drop off, in my opinion, 80% chance. Like, in my opinion, that's just an arbitrary number. I'm just throwing numbers at the wall. But I feel like it's a very, very accurate, probably accurate guess. So the question will be, because they're a half a year apart, is this same conversation going to be more next year? Or because Adams is going to squeak it out? Or will Adams start to slow down at that age of 31, turning 32, and all of a sudden he literally is non-existent like Diggs was? Remember how Diggs just was trash? He was amazing. He was, I think, wide receiver 1 or 2 for the first half of the season. Like, we forget how good Diggs was last year. sometimes, but he was one of the worst the second half of the season. And it was like night and day. And how many people gave up on him? Like, if you talk about Diggs in December, they were like trash. You know, even though he's like the number one wide receiver through half a season. I just wonder if we'll be like feeling that way about Adams and Hopkins by the end of the year. I'm more of a guy that takes the percentages and says, you know, like, I could be wrong on this, Travis, and Adams could ball out one more year. But if I bet against 32 years old, 31 turning 32, if he turns 32 anywhere in the season, in the beefy part of the season, even if it's the last month, then 7 times or 8 times out of 10, I'm going to be right by walking away. And even if I'm wrong, like I always say, what if I'm not wrong on BT or Christian Watson? Then it doesn't even matter. You know, that's the way I look at it.
I agree with you, and I'm not taking a ton of Adams. I just think he's really standalone in the fact that, like, Hopkins played all 17 this year, but the 2 years before he played 9 games and 10 games. Devontae Adams just plays every game, every year. I mean, he missed a few games in 2020 and 2019, but the past 3 years, he's every single game, you know, over 150 targets. And I'm not, like I said, I agree with you that the end is coming for him at some point soon. And because of that, I'm not taking a ton of shares. I just think that, like, he's kind of in a spot of his own.
Yeah, maybe. I'll try and add available players next stream. It's not the hardest thing to add to this, but I'll do it next time. Almost on the clock here. There's a couple guys I really like here. I do have Kyren Williams. I don't think that Corum's going to make it back to me in this group of people. So I almost have to decide whether I'm going to take him or not. Wide receivers available. Let me just cue. Oh, God. I ran out of time, so now I got Benson. I don't care. I'm unorthodox. I know people are going to be like, you got to take a wide receiver. The only thing is the receivers available: Cortland Sutton, Lockett, Dobbs, Shaheed, Shakir, Palmer, Mike Williams. None of these guys are making me. I don't care. I'm just going to go with the 2 best players. I've got Trey Benson. That's going to help me tremendously. If, let's say, Derrick Henry tails off, it's perfectly built, right? Derrick Henry starts tailing off at the end of the year because he's older. Benson's getting into the lineup and he saves my season. So I think that's a really good, like, I don't know what I need to coin that. I need to coin that as a certain stack. I would say that would be it's almost like they're passing by each other. What would be the best way to describe that stack? It would be like a swap stack or I don't know.
Who was it? Sorry, I missed what you said.
It's not. It's a stack in the sense that you've got Derrick Henry with a probable trajectory of going downward every game he plays potentially because he's older. So if he falls off at mid-season, Benson will be getting on his horse at mid-season. So it's kind of like they're crossing stream stack. Yeah, passing the torch. A baton stack. Maybe. Yeah, baton stack. That's perfect. Baton, because it's like you're handing the baton off. So yeah, good. Passing the torch was a good lead into that. Crossroads stack's pretty good. Yeah, crossing the stream stack would be good too, just for fun. But yeah, a baton stack. I'm gonna coin that. We're gonna have that being said on other channels. You mark my words. So I have a baton stack between Henry and Benson. I've got Kyren and Corum locked down. So I'm feeling really good there. Those are the only RBs I have, so that's really, really solid. I got Mahomes, I've got CeeDee Lamb, I've got Trey McBride, I've got Brian Thomas Jr., Christian Watson. A little bit ballsy wide receiver room, but there's some tricks up my sleeve. I'm feeling good about it.
Yeah, I guess passing the torch is more like a James Conner and Trey.
Yeah, that would be a good way to describe
old dog.
Let's see what good old Mr. Prestige's doing. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison. So wild. Travis Kelce, George Pickens, Xavier Worthy, Rashee Rice. Man, he's just going after the wide receivers. He's going after the pass catching stacks without the starting quarterbacks. I've got his Mahomes. I bet he thought Mahomes was going to fall to that Worthy pick. Not on my watch. And then, he did take Najee. That was a good pick. I'll give him that. Najee and Warren, nice. I mean, he did good in a couple picks, but I don't know what in the hell he's thinking with that, Jordan. That'd be amazing if you won. I'd really relish in it. Let's see here. We got someone on the phone line. Who's on there? Harvest. I'm sorry, bro. You're live.
Oh, no. What's up, Smitty? Can you hear me?
Yeah, what's going on, pal?
Man, I've been doing a few best ball, and I don't know if it's because that it's best ball, but the draft summary, like, in all my best ball leagues that I've done, like, I'm like last as far as points wise. That's something I should be like worried about. I don't know if I'm drafting right.
This is what I'm going to guess is happening. Like, first of all, from ESPN or any of those, you're going to always be like a little lower than normal because of the style of drafting that we do. We're very risk oriented. We run toward the flames. We try and jump on the Gibbs and those things before they happen. So the other thing too is that you might be, I'm just making some guesses, you might be very rookie oriented. They have low projections for rookies. The second thing is you might be taking 2 quarterbacks and 2 tight ends. I wouldn't be doing that. I'd be taking 3 and 3. And the other thing I'd say that might be causing it would be that you can't take risks, too many risks on like 0 scoring players. Like if you like Garendo, like I get it, you can take maybe one of those, but if you have a couple of those, you can't have guys that are projected for 0 that will have you at a less likelihood of advancing. Any of those sound normal or sound par for the course for you?
No, definitely par for the course. But you know what it is though? Like I get in like, okay, I'm trying to look at the draft board right now that you guys drafting right now, and I get in the zone of like 7 to like 10, and it's like, who do I pick? Like, like just right now, like 10, someone has Khalil Shakir, and it's like, well, who do I pick? You got Cortland Sutton in there, and it's like I have like a pick from a whole bunch of bums, and I'm just like, I don't know if they're bums or am I tripping? It's just like hard to pick, and so I just go with the guys like, I don't know, McConkey or whatever the case may be. It's just kind of hard to decide between that little range of 7 to 10 or 8 to 11.
Yeah, I'm always. Yeah, take 3 quarterbacks and don't sweat it if your team has a lot of rookies because they don't project a lot for rookies. That's probably what it is. But past that, make sure like if you drafted 1 quarterback, it's gonna. I believe it's going to account for this, but you're going to have, first of all, they score more points, right? So if you have 4 or 5 quarterbacks, like it's going to look at your team a little different, but you also have in real life a better chance with 3 quarterbacks than 2 because if you have an injury and then bye weeks on top of that, but then the idea that a quarterback scores so many points, but you have this rotation going on that's going to give you, even if you had like Mahomes and 2 decent quarterbacks, you might outscore somebody that has Mahomes and has Joe Burrow, but they only have just the 2. Like the three gives you a nice option, a nice little rotation. Don't go 4 or 5 because then you start bleeding out of other positions. You can't go 7 running backs and 5 wide receivers. You're not gonna survive. You got to have probably, I would say, but a sweet spot is 4 to 5 running backs. You can only do 4 if you have the right 4. You should probably do 5. I've done 6 before. You can definitely, the percentages, all this data of you advancing, it just depends on your build. But you want to have at least 6 wide receivers. Try and get 7.
Hey, no, I appreciate it. That's pretty much it, though.
All right. Yeah, you can stay on the line if you want here. Sebastian, what else you got? Or go ahead, Travis, then Sebastian.
Smitty.
I was just going to...
Go,
Sorry,
Travis.
I was just going to say real quick, like, if you're stuck on, like, 2 guys and you really don't know, like, just try to make an educated guess on who's going to get the most targets. If one guy has a really good quarterback compared to a guy that is just has a crap quarterback, maybe lean towards him, just little things like that. Because it's at the end of the day, when it comes to like a Sutton or a Shakir, I'd lean Shakir because of the team he's on and stuff, but it's hard to know at the end of the day who's going to have more points.
Is the Moon Man going to be smaller than last year? Let's go look at it.
The Moon Man.
Yeah, the reason it's smaller is because we got more lists now. So
The Saturn Men.
this list is small step for man, one giant leap for Saturn. Let me just tell you, this Saturn list is going to be reflected back upon in such a negative way. No offense, Yeet, but guys like Yeet are going to come in and go, this isn't bold. Like, these are all big name players, but what people don't understand is, aside from MHJ, who I still will argue is a value because he's wide receiver 9, it just doesn't appear he's like, see, I'm going to put this right here because I think people don't understand that MHJ is such a value. Let me put this right here. He's wide receiver 9. It's just best ball makes that very, very confusing for people. They think, oh, he's going too high. Well, maybe in best ball he is going too high for a lot of people's taste, but he's wide receiver 9. That means that in your mom and pop league, he's wide receiver 9. There you go. In your mom and pop league, you're stealing him away because he has the ability to be, a top 5 wide receiver. So he's wide receiver 9. That's amazing. Hurts is going around 4. That is an absolute... Oh, damn it. I just messed up Hurts's. Hold on. 4.1 for Hurts. Damn it. I'm messing the whole board up.
Yeah.
What's my mouse is going crazy. I think I need to charge it. Hurts ADP 4.1. So ADP 4.1 for Hurts. Wide receiver 9 for MHJ. I've got all these extra things. Hold on. Let me see if I have another one. I'm almost on the clock here. But my whole point is this. Mahomes 5.1, Hurts 4.1, Jaden Daniels in the hundreds. He's like 101. You've got
You've had him there since January.
Gibbs is at 12. Hold on, I'm on the clock. Let me pick real quick. I'm gonna go. I like this. I'm gonna go Leggett and Pearsall back to back here. So my wide receivers are as follows: CeeDee Lamb, Brian Thomas, Christian Watson, Jahan Dotson, Xavier Leggett, Ricky Pearsall. I know a lot of people are going to be a little frightened by that crew. I'm not. I'm very excited about it. I think this is the kind of crew that makes people say, oh, God, you picked the right ones to compete with the people that are going heavy early wide receiver. Because at the end of the day, I'm crushing everyone at running back, quarterback, tight end, given I'm drafting, the way that I'm drafting with them, especially backing up Kyron, the Baton stack for Henry and Benson, CeeDee Lamb with these guys. I love this squad. I took Kirk Cousins, so I've got some potential to get a lot of scoring there. Not a lot of stackage, but not too worried about that. There's some teams I don't have much stackage going on, but I'll explain some things at the end. But this is a team that I have a lot of high hopes for. I mean, Pearsall alone, I think there's still a chance. There's some news today that the Niners didn't actually want to trade Debo or Ayuk, which is a bunch of BS if I've ever heard it. Because no one offered what they wanted. They were fielding phone calls, and everyone knew this to be true. This was being reported everywhere. Schefter himself was reporting it, and now Schefter's saying today that that the Niners never truly were entertaining trading one of them. That's some BS if I've ever heard it. They absolutely were entertaining trading one of them. And I still believe that Ayuk is hell-bent on his contract being a certain number, and the Niners are hell-bent on it not. And so there's still a very high likelihood that teams are going to try and acquire Ayuk. And Ayuk, you could say, hey, we're gonna run it out one more year. We'll put him on the franchise tag, but that franchise tag is going to be like $28 million or something after the new contracts get inked here, Jamar Chase and CeeDee Lamb. So how in the hell are you gonna franchise tag a guy in hopes that you can trade him, and then his market value is going to be $32 million or $31 million then, because a year from today it won't be 28 or 29. it'll be 30-31. Are they really going to risk franchise tagging him at $28 million when they're ready to move on and put Pearsall in there? Or will they do that, franchise tag him, try and get him to sign a deal, make him play on the tag, and trade Debo away? Regardless, one of those wide receivers is gone. But we do know, am I on the clock? No. We do know that that there's still a possibility. And the fact that Jaden Daniels got so excited when his best friend FaceTimed him and said, when Ayuk said to him, they don't want me back. And JD5, instead of going, I'm sorry, bro, like a friend would do. They're very good friends. And I'm not saying JD5 is not a good friend by saying this. I'm saying if you're a great friend, if there wasn't something else going on, you would be like, I'm sorry, bro, that's messed up. He goes, yeah, my boy. Like, he was screaming. And he was like screaming in the background. Why do you think that is? I'm not saying a deal gets done. I'm not saying JD5 has control over this, but why do you think JD5's screaming in the background and celebrating when he said they don't want him back?
Yep.
Like, there's something cooking. It just, we don't know if it'll actually, get off the stove. So my whole point was Pearsall at 13th round territory for me could turn into be a monster. And even if an injury happens to Debo, he could still turn into be a monster. An injury happens to Ayuk. Ayuk's holding out right now. I don't care if he's working out on the side. He is in potential injury mode territory, a risk for a bad season, being injury prone. If he plays on his 5th-year option, he's not. I love that Pearsall pick. As for the Mars Man, Saturn Man, let me go back real quick.
The Saturn Men.
One small step for man, one giant. So real quickly on this, every single one of these players is a value. And I'm telling you, I'm going to be remembered for this board being weak and not bold and didn't help anybody. This is the way this narrative is going to be told. Kyron's going in round 3. Achan's borderline 2.12 to 3.1. JD5's going in the hundreds. Bijan's going at 6 or 7. Breece Hall's going at 9, 10, 8, and sometimes 11. Gibbs is going at the 11, 12, 13 territory. This is a 4th rounder. This is a 5th rounder. MHJ's wide receiver 9. Every single player on this board, including JD and MHJ, are values beyond explanation. And yet somehow, some way, people think that this board doesn't mean anything. That those are not bold takes. They're not bold takes. Why are people calling me crazy when I talk about my expectation for Kyron? If those aren't bold takes, why are people saying I'm crazy for saying Gibbs could be arguably the number 1 overall running back in fantasy football in 2024? If these aren't crazy takes, why am I being shamed in drafting and advising people to draft Hurts and Mahomes in their 4th and 5th round or 3rd and 4th round territories? Hold on, I'm on the clock here. All right, let's see here. I'll go Isaiah Likely. How many receivers do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Kind of feel like I do need another RB. I'm going to take Braylon Allen for the touchdown opportunities. I like that. I like this team. I don't think I've misstepped anywhere. I'm looking around. I don't feel like there's anybody I do like the value of Jerome Ford. I do wish I kind of had Najee on this team, but like no mistakes. I really, really like it. Leggett, I think, is a great pick. I think he's going to get tons of volume. Leggett and BT kind of feel like one of those two guys is going to over-deliver to an extreme. Dotson, Christian Watson, one of them should over-deliver.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I actually just found a guy in the round 14, 15 turn, ADP 172, a Hubbard. Why, like on a 0 RB build, you're pretty much guaranteed a starter for like the first 2 to 5 weeks of the season. So I think he's a really good bridge player if you went 0 RB or even like a hero RB and all your like RB2 slot is going to be handcuffs. I do think he's pretty solid at the ADP if you're only expecting him to start the first month of the season.
Who?
Chuba Hubbard. to get a
Interesting
week 1
because
starter
of
in round
what he
14.
did last year.
Yeah, I don't know.
I wouldn't plan on him, but I'd take him late in the draft.
I don't hate it. My only thing will be that in best ball you can't afford to have like zeros later on in the year. You know, that like I don't want to walk it. Like if Jonathan Brooks is as good as we think he's going to be, Chuba Hubbard becomes meaningless, you know, worthless. So to me, maybe in a non-best ball, and you know, maybe I'll look into that, but I just don't think my rosters would have to be huge. I'd much rather take a chance on look at Braylon Allen right here. He's my he's my last running back. I can't draft another running back, and Braylon Allen's my final one. Like, give me Braylon Allen all day over Chuba Hubbard, because like I said, he's got that passing the baton stack feel. Like later on in the year, he might be getting those touchdowns, and he could get touchdowns all year long. He could have 8 touchdowns on the year. So I hear you, but I can't seem to, in my mind at least, in an 18 round best ball draft, find a place for him as my 5th running back, and I usually do not draft more than 5. So that's hard for me to imagine. But I understand where you're at with it.
You are running back heavy. I'm talking about like if you want like 0 RB through like the first 8 rounds.
In a non-best ball, no. In a non-best ball, I'm still going to say no. But in a best ball, I'm still going to say no. In a non-best ball, I'm going to say okay. But it has to be a big roster where you could like scoop them up. Then I'm all on board that. I don't want you to think I hate your idea. I just think in a league, doesn't matter if you're going 0 RB, hero RB, or robust RB. You only have 5 running back spots. I do not want Chuba Hubbard to consume one of those spots. You will have a likelihood of losing if he's not delivering. If he's getting you 0, you're screwed. So give me Braylon, who could get me a touchdown any given week. Week 1, week 7, week 18, or week 17.
Yeah, he is a handcuff too. So
yeah, if you took Jonathan Brooks, I could kind of understand it. You know, in a best ball, I could get behind it a little bit more, but I'm definitely not taking.
That's when it makes sense to me if you wanted to do something like that. And I have to walk back what I said a little, because I said he did well at the end, and I had him in a league, and for fantasy wise, he did well, but
he just got
even
volume.
the last 6 weeks when he was producing, it was volume. He had 3.7 yards per carry.
Yeah, no, he was trash. It was just
20 plus carries. Yeah.
Yeah, he was trash. He just got
he's
so
not a
much
good
volume.
running back in real life.
Can you imagine if Jonathan Brooks got his volume? I mean, we're going to see somebody that delivers 4.5 yards per carry. It could have also been partly that the team wasn't ready to have anybody produce, so like you could blame it all on him. But I think if they give him the kind of work if they give Jonathan Brooks the kind of work, or even remotely close to the kind of work that Chuba Hubbard got, then Brooks is going to go to the moon.
Well, and remember, like, he went highest in the draft, which doesn't always mean everything, but he went. Him and Benson went the highest, but he went the highest with that injury still. So it shows you, teams believe in him, and I think aside from Benson, he was like pretty clearly the best back in the draft.
All right. I've got all my RBs. I've got 5 of them. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wide receivers. I could definitely use another wide receiver and tight end. I got Isaiah Likely. Okonkwo is not bad here, right? I think this is good.
No, especially because he should be starting every game.
Sure.
I'm gonna go Okonkwo. I got Andy. Andy, calling again. I just missed your call. And then I need potentially another wide receiver. Since I don't know who I want here and I'm running out of time, I'm just gonna make sure I get my guy here. So I drafted Penix Jr. 1 round early. His ADP is way down there, but I don't really care because I don't know what wide receiver I'm gonna grab, even because there's no one even at the top of 10 or 11 that I liked. So I went ahead and so I've got Kirk Cousins. Their bye weeks are different, Patrick Mahomes and Kirk Cousins. So I have Kirk Cousins, I have Penix Jr., I have Mahomes. I think no one's outscoring me in this league of 12 at quarterback. I've got Derrick Henry. Let me put my team on screen. It'll be a little bit easier. I think I got a couple of super chats here. Let me get these real quickly. I'm sorry, guys. Who's the guy that dropped a super a minute ago? Cody, you still here, bro? I'm so sorry, bro. Pickens, top 15 wide receiver for Rag. That's a bold take, but it's also a very understandable take. Like, Pickens has the talent to be a top 12 wide receiver. It's just a matter of what's the situation look like, how they going to, I don't know, hard to know. Cody, are you still here? Cody says rookie draft for QB 1 QB tomorrow, 1.5, thinking about BT, or would you go Worthy? 1.6 JD5, 1.9 Benson, 1.11 Keon Coleman if available. First of all, Coleman and BT are going to go right around the same. I don't think you're going to get Coleman at 1.11. He's been going a lot higher than that. JD5, I like. So you have 1.5 thinking BT, or would you go Worthy? 1.6. So you have the 1.6, the 1.5, and the 1.11. Make sure JD5 is one of them. I don't care if it's one QB. This is the next Lamar Jackson. So I definitely take that. And I would take Jonathan Brooks or Benson with that next pick if it's me. If you need a wide receiver badly, then BT, probably. I like Coleman a lot. Is it Coleman or BT? I'm going back and forth. I'll admit, I've been all on the Coleman train the last handful of like last month or so, more than a month. For some reason, the last couple days, I've been like thinking BT.
I've liked him all along. I mean, I like Coleman, but I haven't jumped off of BTJ. I think they drafted him to be Lawrence's guy and be a huge part of that offense. And I don't think they're going to make the same mistake they did with Ridley this season. If
you need a wide receiver, BT or Coleman can't go wrong. You're not going to get both of them probably. I would probably take BT and JD5. I would take Bowers and JD5 if Bowers was there. I would strongly consider Jonathan Brooks or Benson there as well. I'm not afraid to take him a little early. But if you get Benson at 1.11, that's amazing. So you have the right idea. I don't think you can go wrong here. Just make sure JD5's inside that top, that five pick. Thank you, Cody. I don't know if Cody's still here. Did Cody look like he's still here? Cody? I hope Cody heard that. Let me know if you're here, Cody.
What do you consider Addison in a 10-team league? Because I pushed back on Dean saying he's not even a wide receiver 4 in a 10-team league. He deserves to be on rosters in the 10-team league.
Yeah, you can't leave Addison on the waiver wire, bro. But like in a 10-man league, there's a way he's not my wide receiver 3 in a 10-man league. But is he on your roster in a rotation for that 4 or 5 spot? Sure. I mean, come on, Dean. You're getting a little carried away there. But I do believe that with JJM, Sick Nasty, put your earmuffs on. I don't know that he's guaranteed to get anywhere near his numbers last year. So I'm not saying Dean has a point in like saying I don't want to draft him. But like his comment, I think, is overboard. He's stressing the wrong thing. He should be saying, look, I get that there's some value somewhere, but I'd rather just take somebody else every time he's around his ADP. Like, that makes sense. But I think Dean, you're overdoing it.
Like you said, it looked like JJ was going to have some like more touchdowns than usual, and so that'll be a big thing this year, and maybe the quarterback play. I don't know how that'll work out, but like Addison had 10 touchdowns last year. Most people would say, "Oh, no way he gets close to that." But if JJ goes back to not scoring touchdowns, he could have a decent amount of touchdowns. I just don't think the yardage and the looks will be there for him.
Yeah, maybe
if JJ's healthy.
Maybe I think there's a shot at it. I need one more wide receiver, boys. We're looking at. And this crew we're drafting with, they're a bunch of snipers. I don't even know. Johnny Wilson's interesting.
Big guy. 6'7".
I like him a lot as the last pick.
I just don't want zeros, but I feel like there's a...
It's crazy how deep the Eagles are.
Yeah, I just don't want any zeros at all. But
I mean, if AJ Brown goes down, he moves up the depth chart. What other receivers?
Him and Paris Campbell.
I'm gonna go
with Paris Campbell. He's always hurt.
What was that? That was a puppy 2. Puppy 2. Superfish says, "Will you review my team?" You bet your bottom dollar. You bet your bottom $2. I'm doing that. All right, here we go. Superfish is from the. I wish on Sleeper when you click on the name it would dark out all the other the columns. Let me put my. I got my own way of doing this. Hold on. All right, here we go. Superfish, I got you right here. So Superfish's team: Gibbs, Drake London, Cooper Kupp, Jalen Hurts, Jacobs. I don't like this start. I love this start. Smash. Do it live.
You've just been Smitty approved.
Cody, thank you. Cody is here. He just super chatted. Thank you. Thank you, Cody. I'm glad you heard my response. Thank you. Again, JD5, BT, if you need a wide receiver, BT or Coleman, pick your poison. And then you just get lucky and get one of those, whatever wide receiver you didn't take, or Benson or Jonathan Brooks, and smash that. But if you need a tight end at all, and Bowers is there with JD5, I would do that and then draft a receiver later. But, and bro, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I'm crazy about Ricky Pearsall. It's so ballsy, but if worst case scenario, you try and get him and maybe even trade into the bottom of the first round or the top of round 2 with another trade up and take him as your guy, you know, instead of, and then, so like, let's say you get Bowers and you get, JD5, and then you draft Benson because he's there, Brooks, and you're like, damn it, I didn't get a wide receiver. Like, just trade up into the top of round 2 and take Pearsall. I might be totally off, but bro, I'm feeling it. I don't know why it's such a look. He was one of my favorite, like 4, 5, 6 ranked wide receivers in January, and so this isn't some newfound like, oh, I just realized he's good or something. This is me, and I didn't even love his landing spot at first. But I really, really feel like he's their future wide receiver 1. I don't know that Ayuk or Debo will be there next year. I'm almost positive one of them won't be, and I feel very strongly that one of them won't be this year, even if it happens a little bit into the year. But this team is a phenomenal start. So, I mean, what a way to smash. The fact that you've got Jacobs, a guy worthy of the 4th round in round 5, is crazy. Rashad White in round 6 is insane. That's where I like to get Rashad White. I'm not the biggest fan of his ADP usually. That's a great team. 80 Mitchell, I mean, you smashed it out of the park. That's a great team. Luke McCaffrey, I like that. Great job. You're easily a top 5 team in this draft without even looking at the other teams. I don't know who else is in here. Miles is in here. He has Breece Hall, Saquon, Josh Allen, Hollywood, Keon Coleman. This is a very intriguing team, even though it's very, very light wide receiver wise. But, I mean, running backs are strong as can be. Strong.
Rocco asked if you could look at his team.
What? Who's talking? What?
He doesn't have enough wide receivers.
Yeah, that's going to be the downfall. It's going to be the downfall. How many did they even draft? Hollywood. Oh yeah, God, they didn't even. You're right. I didn't even scroll down far enough. Hollywood, Coleman. That's 2, 3, 4, 5. You only drafted 6 wide receivers, and they're very questionable. Miles, that could be why your team, no matter what, does not advance. Like you can play the risky wide receiver game, but you better have, like, if you're gonna go late, you better go secure. You know, and so Hollywood and Coleman, I don't mind that. But then you get to Brandon Cooks, Quentin Johnson, Rashad Bateman, and Zay Jones. Like, there's a chance none of those guys are doing anything by midseason. So, like that. And look, you're going to have good drafts and bad drafts, so I'm not trying to be hard on you. I'm just letting you know, if you're going to do this, you've got to do it right. Thank you for reminding me to look down. Rocco, I'm on Raw. Ayuk, Devontae Smith, Christian Kirk, Jaden Reed, Chris Godwin. Rocco, what are you doing?
A lot of receivers.
I mean, think about it from this perspective, Rocco. I know that you're hearing from people that this is the way to do it. But, I mean, you can't think Christian Kirk is
every other spot.
You can't think Christian Kirk is worth continuing down this road. Like, I get it if you're saying Pickens, I really feel he's top 10, 5, 10 Smitty. I'm like, okay, keep going, doing it. Keep doing your wide receiver approach.
Especially because he got
so data has been showing
right
that
after.
this kind of works.
Wait.
I mean,
who one at a time?
data has been showing that a lot of wide receivers work because
Bro, we've
they
talked
score more
we've
and they
talked
stay
about
healthy longer.
You could have
So
taken
the
ETN.
data
We've
shows
talked about this. The data. That's last year's data. Number one. Number two, doesn't matter if the data shows that more wide receiver driven teams make it. Everyone's doing that. So the odds of a good drafter having more wide receivers increases that likelihood. Number one, doesn't mean that if you pull one of these people that are following this trend, it's like, it's weird because the smartest drafters tend to follow these trends that the data is suggesting so much. You don't get any outliers inside these groups too, which you would say, well, they're obviously doing good for a reason, but it's skewed data. Like, there's, number one, even if we're talking about, okay, people that go wide receiver, have a, 18% chance in that exact bucket of drafter with that exact build of advancing, let's say, I'm throwing an arbitrary number out because every tournament's different too, every single contest, versus a 12%. You're talking about percentages, not absolutes. You're talking about, I want to live in the 12% group. Why? Because I'm going to be better than every single one of those people in there. And the other thing too is the people that don't know what they're doing tend to fall into these other categories, and they make the data look even messier. Because people that end up thinking robust RB, they don't deploy it right and they drag the data down. Whereas, somebody's in there going robust RB, smashing the hell out of their late wide receiver drafting, and they're in that small bit of data that says 8% of people that went robust RB advanced. They're in there smiling, going, you think that my group is bad, but it's not. It does, and not to mention, you're just drafting names. At some point, you're just drafting, like Christian Kirk is not worth going down this path. If you show me 5 wide receivers, 6 wide receivers, we went 6 deep on this one. Rocco, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to blast you here. You went 6 deep. Chris Godwin and Christian Kirk are not worth continuing to go down this road of ignoring other positions. Because I can grab a player.
On this list, but yeah, I know what you mean.
I can grab.
Kyle
I
Pitts
don't know.
and ETN.
Those are good scoring players.
From, is this Rocco on the phone? I didn't know if this is Rocco on the phone. The wide receivers, or the running backs, aren't doing it for me. Like, I get some people might like Swift, some people might think Monty's going to do okay. You got Brian Robinson, Ezekiel Elliott. I'm not saying these running backs are trash, but this team certainly is not going to hang with another team if their wide receivers even come close to contending with their wide receivers. Bro, I went wide receiver, running back, quarterback, tight end, and didn't take my second wide receiver until round number 6. And this wide receiver room does not blow my wide receiver room out of the water. It's better, sure, but on the flip side, his running backs don't sniff my running back potential. His quarterback, even though I like Jordan Love, isn't going to, in my opinion, outscore Love, and I think differently of Mahomes if people think he's going to have a bad year. I have number 1, number 2, number 3 tight end in the game, and I have a bunch of wide receivers that I believe have the ability, like Christian Watson, like BT, like Ricky Parasol, that I think could potentially get themselves into a top 12, top 15 wide receiver scoring situation. So at the end of the day, you want to go this route and go wide receiver 6 straight rounds, be my guest. I don't care what the data says. The data's last year. Like the data doesn't account for the wide receiver pool being deeper than ever, the running back pool being deeper than ever, the quarterback pool, the tight end pool. All positions are really loaded this year. And so you can deep dive in the wide receiver department. And I promise you, next offseason, there will be so many people trying to go against traffic because everyone's continuing to do this approach to the point where it's not even recognizable what's good or bad in it, because look at the percentages. Look at all the wide receivers, which does create a problem. If you don't know what you're doing or how to draft good late wide receivers, you are going to get yourself drowned out of even doing well. Even if you're smarter than some of the people doing this approach, you're going to get screwed, right? And so it continues to perpetuate of what I believe to be a bad habit of only going wide receiver heavy teams, because 70% of all the teams here have wide receiver early approaches. The likelihood of someone bouncing out of this and going into the next round is probably pretty high that it's one of those teams. And it's going to make the data look completely skewed later. Like, I'm a big advocate of going against the grain when you believe your skill set can account for it and allow you to do it and deploy it right. If you're not good at late wide receiver drafting, then don't go near it. But there's no way this team, sorry, Rocco, I'm not trying to rip on Rocco. There's no way this team is better than 3 or 4 or 5 of these teams that are in here. If it was, like I said, if it was different wide receivers, if it was somehow like, I'm trying to even look at who would, like, let's throw Tank Dell in this mix instead of Godwin. Let's throw in, I don't know.
Even a Dunze down the stretch.
Yeah, I just don't get it. I don't get how anybody thinks just because other people are winning with wide receivers, you just smash a bunch of wide receivers in one column and be like, I'm going to do it. Rocco, I'm sorry. Rocco, I'm not mad at you, Rocco. I'm trying to help. Shubes with the Tyreek Hill, Achane. I'm going to go around the phone line in a second. Tyreek Hill, Achane, Malik Neighbors, Amari, Pacheco, Adunze, Ladd. It's a good team. Matt with Jamar, Nico, Mike Evans, ETN, Andrews, CJ Stroud. So it's a good squad. See, look, this is a wide receiver heavy team, and I'm not against it. I've done it before. I've drafted 4 straight wide receivers. That's the thing that people don't understand about me. Is I'm not against it. I'm just against it when you force it, and you're not even getting guys that are worth doing it. Like Christian Kirk. Christian Kirk isn't worth foregoing running backs further when you could just grab somebody that's better than Christian Kirk or has the same upside as Christian Kirk 2-3 rounds later. I'm not saying Christian Kirk can't exceed my expectations, but it's a crowded wide receiver room. It's crowded over there, and the likelihood of a Christian Watson or a BT or somebody you're getting like I got in 6 and 7 outscoring Christian Kirk in round 4, give me a break. Give me a break. I'm not going near Christian Kirk in round 4. That's absolute disaster waiting to happen. But this team right,
a guy anyway with Godwin, you know.
Yeah, but this team right here.
The Kirk trade, that's crazy. I would take him besides anybody but Diggs in that round.
Well, I don't know why.
What about ETN? He was right there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
He's going to get a ton of targets. I mean, T.O. had a bad year last year.
Well, put a blindfold on. Put a blindfold on and keep grabbing guys. That's fine. We're okay with it. Who's talking right now? Andy? Is that Andy?
Diggs.
Yeah, that's me.
Okay. Jamar Chase, Nico, Mike Evans. This is wide receiver heavy. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. You got ETN, you got Andrews, you got Stroud. This is a perfect way to deploy it. This is when it organically falls into place and you go heavy wide receiver and you still get DeAndre Hopkins. Tell me how Chase, Nico, Evans, and Hopkins isn't better than Amon-Ra, Ayuk, Devontae Smith, Christian Kirk, Reed, Chris Godwin when you account for the running back difference in ETN. You account for having... You could say Jordan Love can compete with Stroud, but Stroud's still a better quarterback. He's got Mark Andrews. It's just not even close. It's not even close. This is the proper way to deploy it. This is letting it fall naturally, taking best player available, chewing gum and walking at the same time, trying to deploy best player available, along with trying to do the early wide receiver approach if it works. I like Ayuk. I like Amon-Ra St. Brown. I like Devontae Smith. This is where I would have stopped it. I would have said, give me ETN right here, or Patrick Mahomes, or whatever. You could have went, even Josh Jacobs right here. I mean, this team, if this team, Amon-Ra, Brandon Ayuk, Devontae Smith, went ETN and Josh Jacobs right here, it's a 5 times better team. My squad, for anybody that let me put it on screen real quick. I think this is one of the better teams I've drafted in a long time. And I don't always like my teams. I didn't like my team the other night. Mahomes, Kirk Cousins, Penix Jr. I think I've got a creative cuff there that's gonna outscore Mahomes. Like if Mahomes craps the bed this year and has another year that's very up and down, Kirk Cousins, Penix Jr. I'm very protected there. Derrick Henry, Kyron, I've got Corum. Benson, Braylon Allen. We've got the Baton stack going on, as we coined here on the channel, where Henry might be amazing in the beginning when Benson and Braylon Allen aren't. And end of season, if Henry does decline, Benson should be getting on his horse. I've got Corum. I feel really good about that room. I've got kind of like a fifth running back that is very, very touchdown capable to help step in. I've got CeeDee Lamb. I've got Brian Thomas Jr. I've got Christian Watson, Jahan Dotson, Xavier Legette, Ricky Pearsall. I did draft
your wide receivers.
Yeah,
you
Will
don't have enough. That's trash.
What?
Those wide receivers that's not
what?
That's not very good.
It's not, Andy?
Compare those to Rocco. Remember, wide receivers do score more. Look at Rocco's wide receivers. As I was just saying, he's going to be lighting it up.
As I was just saying, I've got also Wilson down there. This is an old screenshot. McBride, Isaiah Likely, Chigakonkwo. My wide receivers are the weakest part of this team, and I think they're absolute smash, unlike Andy thinks. Having Brian Thomas Jr., Lamb, Christian Watson, Dotson, Legette, Pearsall, Wilson, who's not on this screenshot, that right there to go along with the rest of this stacked team that's stacked to the rafters. I've got a better tight end room than anybody. I've got a better running back room than anybody. I got a better quarterback room than anybody. If my wide receivers don't become my crutch, if they step up at all, this team smashes. So totally disagree with you, Andy. 100% disagree with you. This is one of the better teams in a long time that I've drafted. Yeah, we do have different strategy because you sound like you're an Excel sheet, Eric, that is looking at only last year's data, Andy. You can't look at just last year's data.
Bro.
You what?
Definitely look at math, obviously.
You don't think I do? You don't think I'm not accounting for all that? The problem is you're only speaking wide receiver language because that's what everybody else is telling you to do. It's because everybody's saying the data last year said this. The data last year said this. Do you know that the person that won Best Ball Mania 3 they went running back. You don't have to go wide receiver. Everybody's telling you have to go 4 straight wide receivers. Do you know that yes, maybe if you draft 4 or 5 wide receivers in the first 7 rounds, you have, let's say, an 18% chance of advancing to the finals. It's like the numbers are so close. It's not as big of a situation as you think. You could be like in the 12 or 14% trying a strategy that's one less wide receiver. It might be 10% or 11% difference. Like there might be a greater chance, in some cases double, in some cases 5% chance difference, whatever. You're talking about a small number of people advancing to the finals. You're talking about teams that had Joe Burrow and AR5 that you can't even account for those teams. You what?
I mean, if there's 12 teams, you have an 8% chance, a little better than an 8% chance of winning. So it's all small numbers.
I know. So why? I don't know why we think that you have to go wide receiver when I just told you that the Best Ball Mania winner went running back in Best Ball Mania 3.
So can I ask a quick
fine.
question?
You can definitely do that, but then you definitely need to start drafting wide receivers after that.
No shit, Andy.
I mean, that's what the data shows. But
the data shows you need wide receivers. That's true, Andy. You do need wide receivers. But
it's the data. I mean, it is what it is.
The data shows that he reached on Jaden Reed, bro. Just stop.
Can I ask a quick question, like regarding all that?
Yeah.
Like, for example, like Christian Kirk. You look at the data from last year. How can you even consider that the data from last year will even be close to this year when Ridley's gone, Brian Thomas is there? It's a completely different situation. Zay Jones is gone. Gabe Davis is there. You know, they might run the same offense, but they're completely different
I'll look at it
players.
again, Mantis.
Targets are going to be different. You know, I don't know how you can
look.
possibly
I'm not. Look, Andy. I'm not
say
trying
it's
to
gonna be the same.
belittle your stance or say that you don't have a strong case to make that wide receiver heavy teams have in the past a more likely chance of advancing.
Mm-hmm.
But there is all kinds of other information and data that tells you that there is still a big percentage, because it's not like it's 70%. We're talking about numbers that are oftentimes in the 17, 18, 19, 20%, depending on what kind of category of the data you're trying to break down. Whether it's, do you have teams that draft 4 wide receivers in the first 7 rounds have an 18% chance of advance? You're talking about minute differences that, yes, those numbers on average seem more, but if you land your wide receivers and you have all these other positions stacked to the rafters, you have a much higher percentage chance of being in that 10%, 12% group and dominating all of them. And just because other people aren't good at deploying the strategy, you're going to continue to look away from it because the data says this, the data says that. It just so happens that a lot of these people that get to the finals, they do look at it like a World Series of poker, these percentages, this and that. They don't like to go against the grain in a lot of these things. And if you take one of those people that is very good at fantasy football drafting, and I think this happens this coming off season after people get tired of the saturation of everybody going down this road, because more people are absorbing this content around going wide receiver heavy than they did last year. So it's going to get oversaturated. If you take 2 or 3 of the better best ball players and force them to go robust RB or to have a more balanced approach, at least, I bet you'd find the data would be, it wouldn't even matter. I bet you'd find that the only problem is, and this is going against the grain, is so many people continue to pile it on that it makes it harder to draft a running back team, because people are irresponsibly, like we just saw in this draft, scooping up early wide receivers and making it difficult to assemble a team with wide receivers. So you have to land your wide receivers. It's no doubt a riskier proposition to go against the grain. But when you have you'll have one draft that will fail because of it and have 3 drafts that could succeed because of it. You're gonna be put in positions where people gobble up the wide receivers like Christian Kirk around 4, which is a ridiculous place to take them. And all of a sudden you have no wide receivers left later. But if you have the right draft slot, it organically falls. You end up, look, I even went wide receiver early instead of Christian McCaffrey to kind of buck this trend a little bit, or to fight against it, so I'm not swimming upstream the entire draft. And it fell in perfectly for me. You may not like it. You may not like these wide receivers. I love these wide receivers. I think rookies are also a great bet for being explosive this year. Doesn't matter what last year's data says. Doesn't matter what anything says in previous years. Early quarterback was a dominant best ball strategy 2 years ago. Last year it wasn't. And because it wasn't last year, people are running away from early quarterback this year. It worked beautifully the year prior. So I don't use last year's data like everybody else does. It's not something that I think anybody should be taking like it's law, like it's absolute scripture, and you need to just deploy it no matter what. Wide receivers did better. Well, maybe they're not going to this year for many different reasons, like how deep the wide receiver pool is this year. We haven't seen a wide receiver pool this deep in a long, long time. Same thing with the tight end position. And there's arguments about going early tight end versus grabbing late tight ends and stacking 3 or 4 late tight ends and getting that breakout tight end. And people that drafted Kelsey last year got burned and didn't make it. So people are running away because the data says to run away from early tight end. It oftentimes is a cycle, bro. Everything's a cycle. And sometimes you got to play against it because it's going to flip back the other way. Let me head over to Rags real quick. Rags and then Tebow. Rags, you're up.
Hey, Smitty, how's it going, man? I had a question. It was like a general question. What do you think about using Vegas player props for the season to sort of guide and figure out maybe some values you can find? Like George Pickens, for example, I said he was a top 15 wide receiver, and I was just looking at Vegas props. First of all, I like Pickens as a player. I think his situation will be better. But Vegas thinks he's got 1,000 1,000-yard, season coming up potentially. So just wanted to hear your thoughts.
You got to be careful with that, because what you're confusing is Vegas knowing what's going to happen and Vegas trying to get to the middle of where everybody's dropping. Basically, the way these lines work is Vegas wants to be right in the middle. So if 500 people are on this side and 499 people are on this side, they want that next person to be over here. So they move the line. If all of a sudden news breaks and it's like, oh my God, Pickens is looking great, and all of a sudden this is 650, they have to move that line so that they can get more people over here so that it becomes 650. Because what they make is that VIG, the amount everybody's paying to place the bet. So you're trusting the general masses, the population, when you're seeing these numbers. It's not necessarily Vegas, because they'll move this line exactly to. So I don't know that I like that approach.
I understand that. But what about the opening line? Like, I could kind of see, like, eventually if the line moves up or down, that's just Vegas sort of moving the target to capture 50% on both sides. But the opening line, does that also have to be based on or is that based on some sort of statistics, or is that also just, maybe off the market, there's betting going on? I'm not sure how it works.
I don't know, man. Because sometimes I see these, like last year. The problem with last year is I tied Jahan Dotson and Christian Watson to a lot of my 5-player contests. And so the hires I did hires on Dotson and Watson, like almost, I had one or the other on like 70 or 80% of all of my contests. I really love those lines. But like Gibbs had a ridiculous line that he hit. I think sometimes, there's some insight there, but in general, no. It's going to be like one-off situations. It's going to be case by case. There's no real story to tell there. I think what it does is it kind of tells you who's being doubted, but the draft ADP also does. You know what I mean? Like if Gibbs is getting doubted in the line, he's getting doubted in the drafts. Like it's usually because it's the same populace of people moving that line. So I don't know. It's a good question.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right. Thanks, Smitty. Love the content.
All right, later, bro. Let's go over to Tebow, and then we'll go back around. We'll give Andy a final thought here. Tebow, what's up, my guy?
Hey, what's going on, Noah? I was just calling in to kind of chime in on that wide receiver debate there a little bit. I mean, to me, I see both sides of the coin, and I think where a lot of people get it mixed up, when they take too many wide receivers, just to start off without mixing it up, they leave them little outs later in the turn. And so I think really, to me, my concept has always been, hold on, I'm on the clock here. Drafting? So what I was so basically to kind of wrap it up, I just think it's four. Ideally, you want to get 4 wide receivers out of the first 7 rounds, or at least maybe 5 out of the first 10. That's usually my goal to kind of shoot for. So I kind of agree with what you were saying. Is like, hey, instead of taking Christian Kirk there, I think the better play would have been for him to kind of go with Etienne, and then he could have maybe gone back to Reed if he wanted to after that. But I think,
no problem with Reed there. Godwin, I mean, maybe you like Godwin, but like Godwin's not worth abandoning any opportunities you could have had there. Like C.J. Stroud was a way better pick than Godwin. Reed, I'm fine with. Reed was good. Christian Kirk, ETN would have smashed there. That team would have been so much different had it made those 2 moves. Like everything else you can keep. I have no problem with the wide receiver, and I wouldn't even have a problem with 4. I've gone 4 straight before. It's not very often.
And I have.
But yeah, it's not very often I do, but it, like for example, this team over Mantis wanted me to rate his team as 12 team. Puka, Marvin Harrison, Zay Flowers, Tank Dell. Like those are 4 quality guys. He got Anthony Richardson. He got Kenneth Walker. Let's see what he got down even lower at RB to see if maybe he should have went, somewhat of a bully quarterback situation here. Ferguson, Singletary. I think your downside was I don't know that I would have went Kyler off of that strategy, to be honest with you. I like Kyler a lot. I like the late bully quarterback approach, but I think you could have used the running back a lot more than Kyler. And there's still some opportunities. Like I got Cousins and Penix Jr., and you could have still deployed something similar to that instead of going Kyler. But I don't mind this team at all. I don't think it was even reckless to go Anthony Richardson necessarily before you went RB, because that's a big time score. But like you could have took, let's see. I mean, you could have went Rachaad White and Kenneth Walker if you wanted. But I don't mind this. This wasn't a horrible deployment of wide receiver. But again, I'm just here to tell people that they should not listen to somebody, and I'm sorry, Tebow or Andy, or if anybody, this offends anybody, that tells you that you should go 4 wide receivers in the first 7 rounds. I'm sorry. I 100% disagree. I think you can go 4 wide receivers in 7 rounds, but you don't need to do anything, because it all depends on how good of a drafter you are. And what if you suck at late running back drafting and you're literally giving blanket advice to somebody that's not going to be able to deploy the strategy you're talking about, when they could, if they just followed the way that they're good at drafting, and you didn't take time to ask that, you just decided, not you two in general, but a content creator saying you need to draft 4 wide receivers. Anybody that says that, I would run away as fast as you can. The only people I listen to that say there's a good chance, a better chance you could go here based on the data last year, but the data is volatile. It's definitely not something that you can just slap toward a strategy and say you got to do this. It's something to keep in mind. It's something to keep on the back of your mind. It's something that should help shape you into thinking, hey, this might be a better pick than this, because he is a wide receiver and I do need that, and I'm looking at the board and wide receivers are flying off the board. All those things are tools in your tool belt. But if someone tells you you should go 4 wide receivers in the first 7 rounds, and they're actually telling you to take a position and not a player, I would run away from that content as quick as I could, because they don't know a single thing about your ability to build. They don't know a single thing about what players we're even talking about, and that is just garbage advice. But to apply it in addition to what you know and what you're bringing to the table is fine, and it's helpful information. And knowing that the Best Ball Mania winner in 2000, or in the Best Ball Mania 3 winner went running back is helpful information. Does it mean you should go running back? No, but it's helpful information to know that you can win doing that. It's helpful information to know that, Puka Nacua didn't even have as big of an effect as you would think in some of the winners in the top 10, like you would think he would have been on every single team. Like, there's so much valuable information in the data, no doubt about it. And I bring it out all the time. I'm not an anti-data person at all. I'm just an anti-draft a position and not a player person. I think you should always be drafting for balance when you can, and you should always be drafting best player available when it makes sense to go heavy at one position. Then have at it. Unleash the dragon on the wide receiver, even wide receiver. All right. Anything else? Tebow?
No. I'm in the middle of draft.
Yeah,
anyway.
go draft. You sound distracted. All right, later, bro.
Bye.
This team right here, it's a good team. I like it. I just would have maybe explored another pick other than Kyler here, but Kyler does give you a real nice, both running quarterbacks. The optimal scoring on that's going to be insanely valuable. It's just a matter of, like, you're going to have some shaky RBs. Yeah, and in a lot of the data, in a lot of the different tournaments, every tournament has a little bit different data, but a lot of the times it was a little bit more advantageous last year, and this wasn't always the case, to have your flex player be a running back. Like, that's not always the case. It just depends on a lot of different factors. All right, go ahead, Andy. Your final thoughts.
Okay, so it was just like a good debate, Smitty, and obviously, if your forte is drafting wide receivers late that hit, then that's your forte. So definitely stick to what you know. I totally agree 100% with what you said. But overall, usually wide receivers score more and they stay healthier. So that's the gist of it, and the percentages back it up. But I agree with you. Like, hey, the trend. Maybe you're right. Maybe this is the year that it flips because of all the content and all that. It's very possible. It's a legit. And that's about it.
Also,
pretty interesting discussion.
Also keep in mind that, like, there's a lot of data coming out too that, you know, stacking, like the weird thing is, like, a lot of people say you're more likely to win if you have that week 17 correlation, or you're more likely to be in a finals. It's like the week 17 correlation doesn't even help you get into week 17. So how does having the week 17 correlation have anything to do with you making it into the finals? It doesn't. It's almost like you got to have that week 17 correlation once you're there to potentially hammer down on everybody else, but it has nothing to do with getting there. So it's like, it's all about chewing gum and walking at the same time. And if you can get the week 17 correlation mixed into your draft on top of everything else, it's a very solid approach if you're able to do it without destroying your team or timing out and just being a mess and a wreck and not being in a good mind space. You've got to learn to play best ball first. You can't, if someone's new to best ball, you can't just start trying to do all these at once. You won't be able to do it. You need to get so versed in failing to draft, because you're going to fail a lot. You're going to draft a bunch of bad teams. Maybe your first year you don't even get to a finals, and that's fine. Maybe your first year you don't even get to round one, and that's fine. But you're going to learn, and once you learn, you'll be able to deploy these different strategies in coordination with what you feel is the best player available. But like the whole game stacking, like, where, if for anybody that doesn't know what game stacking is, so essentially if you have like Mahomes and you have Hollywood, this is a stack, right? You have Hollywood. Game stack would be if, let's say, I don't have this, Eagles and Dallas would be a better example, but let's just say, who's KC?
Well, it depends what you're playing for.
Who's
too,
KC?
Right?
Who's
like
KC?
If you're playing for $1 million, you need the stack.
Who's KC playing in week 17? Let me see if I have it. Let me just throw it out there. Let's just say it was the Cowboys. It's not the Cowboys. The Cowboys play the Eagles. But if you've got that opposing player in that game, like you got the wide receiver, the top wide receiver, the second best wide receiver, the top running back, this is what they call a game stack. So you have the stack inside this game, a player that's catching passes from your quarterback, and then you've got an opposing player, whether it's a running back, a wide receiver, maybe it's a tight end, maybe it's McBride, maybe it's something like that. That's a game stack. That's very advantageous. And in some cases, it doesn't, like, you could have just the non-stack with the game, like you're game stacking without the actual stack. You could have Mahomes versus the top wide receiver in the other game, and this is also like a very solid approach. Sometimes having just multiple players in that game, if that game pops off, is really the important thing. Like, I'm not one, I think it's ridiculous to tell someone that you can't win if you draft Jamar Chase and you don't have Joe Burrow. I think that's some of the dumbest thinking I've ever heard. Like, is there advantages to it? Yeah, but there's also disadvantages to it. If Burrow has a bad game, Chase can still do well, and Hurts was a top 11 or a top 6 quarterback 11 different weeks last year. Hurts and Jamar Chase is a stack that I'll take all day long, or two players I'll take all day long, versus stacking Burrow and Chase. Like, I don't care what anybody says about that. I can find other stacks in other places. Not to mention, I can still take, a different, stack here. I don't have to necessarily, I can try and stack Hurts later. I can try and get Goddard and figure out a stack there. Stacks aren't even required to make it to a finals. Are people advancing with stacks more than not? Yes, but again, keep in mind, the best ball players out there are all doing it. So it's hard to even know what it means, because if everybody that's good is doing it, you could say, well, they're doing it for a reason. Yes, but you could also say, how do you even look at the data anymore? If all the best ball players out there, the veterans, the people that are really good at it, are all doing this, you're of course going to see it in the data. And at some point, the data becomes hard to read. And everybody just needs to understand that. That's why you should always take into account drafting a player, not a position, drafting best player available when you can, and then trying to add in all of this information to help guide you when things are very close and even, to make the best decision that gives you another additional piece of advantage that might have to do with the correlating game or correlating stack. All right, Andy.
Yeah, but it's nice to have like a format to say this is what's worked in the past, and then you can
It
go
is.
kind of with
It
that.
is, sure.
But I mean,
sure.
it doesn't work for everybody. You're right, but
all right. Appreciate you, Andy. Later.
All right, man. It's
Later.
Good discussion later.
Yeah, not mad at you anything. I hope you don't know that. I hope you know that.
Yeah, man. It's just
all right.
All right, later.
All right, later. Sebastian, final thoughts.
I think that team that went Christian Kirk is absolutely pathetic because they reached on Jaden Reed. They didn't get a single wide receiver at a value. Like, they were at ADP or they were reaches. They skipped out on the Jaguars or an ETN at a value. Kyle Pitts was there too. And then your RB1 is David Montgomery. Like, come on, you could have taken Ramondre Stevenson, but a guy that's on his 27, 28-year-old downturn. Like, really, dude?
Well, let's be light on Rocco. Rocco's a good guy. Let's not. Or I think he is, unless that was Rocco and that was his burnt. No, Andy's a good guy too. I don't know. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't like the team. I'm sorry, Rocco. I'm not mad at you. It's nothing against you. I've drafted bad teams. I draft bad teams all the time. It happens.
But look at Team 3. It's similar approach. I mean, they
Yes.
were able to stack Nico and Stroud out of value, like smash with ETN and got the tight end.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I was highlighting this team, and I was saying this team started off heavy wide receiver, just like the other team, but it got a lot better pieces to go with it. All right, Sebastian, got to go, bro. Appreciate you.
All right, night.
All right, let me go to this 402 caller. What's your name and where are you calling from, 402?
Hey, what's up? It's Danny.
Danny who?
Danny G.
Danny G. Okay. Danny G. What's up, Danny G? Where are you calling from, Danny G?
I'm calling from Nebraska, man.
What's up?
What's up? I just had a question about Underdog. I just was wondering if you had any teams advanced last year, and like how far you went, man.
Yeah, I had like, I don't even know the exact number, 4 or 5 that were in the finals. I had one of them that was at 30K. I put it on the screen here. I was at 30K, and then Christian McCaffrey and Kamara both sat out the second half, and I dropped down to like, I think it was like 1,500 or whatever in that one.
Yeah.
I had 2 other $1,000 finishes, 1,500 and 1,000, but the one that I was in the top 10 was that one, and then dropped out because of that. I was so pissed. Christian McCaffrey. I'm surprised more people aren't pissed off at Christian McCaffrey for leaving him hanging. Like, I was so hell bent. I was so pissed off. To have Kamara and Christian McCaffrey both not play, and pretty much the entirety of the second half was such a kick to the nutsack. I thought I was golden in that. And also, when you're in the finals, depending on the tournament too, because every finals has a bigger group or small. Like Best Ball Mania, it's a much bigger group. But like this was, I think, big board Superflex or big, and so when, like, let's say, just an example, I'm not saying this happened in that week, but if, let's say, Christian Watson were to catch a 70-yard touchdown in like weeklies, when you're looking at weeklies, you'll see yourself go from like 30th place down to like 2000th place if you don't have that player. And it's like, wow, like, it's crazy what one touchdown could do. You get kind of used to that, right? Because that's our live scoring where you see it. You don't see it during the year unless you're looking at that. And then when you get to these finals, especially when there's like 200 or 300 people, and like a Christian Watson type player catches a 70-yard touchdown, you're naturally thinking, I'm gonna drop out of here if I don't have that guy, and you don't even move. You're like, wow, like, not as many people have the same teams, and you're dealing with, hundreds of people versus, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands, 20,000, 30,000, or how many people were in 100,000? 100,000 people. If you get a touchdown, you like get bumped out 2,000 spots. So if Kamara and Christian McCaffrey had delivered in the second half, I have no doubt I would have been a top 5 finish easily, if not the number 1 in that particular. I was so pissed off. We've had a couple of those scenarios too. Ron Navy had a team where he he had a really good shot, I think, at finishing in like the top 10 or 15, and it was the Hamlin game, and he got screwed out of that. And that's a time where stacking didn't help him. It didn't help him at all. I think Danny G got out of here. I think he hung up. I don't think he liked my answer. I think he was hoping that I didn't make it to any finals. I think that's kind of what I was getting the vibe. I don't know. Go ahead, Travis. Final thoughts.
I was just wondering, do you like Kyler or Jordan Love this year?
That's a good question. I'll be honest. I've gone back and forth on that one. The cost is better on Kyler, I believe, so that's good. But at the end of the day, if you just ask me in a vacuum, who do I think outscores the other? This might be a wild take coming from a Jordan Love believer and a guy that pumped Jordan Love up as much as I did. I'm going to say Kyler.
Yeah, I mean, I think their offense is going to be really good. So.
Yeah, I think
he's
interesting though. I think he's gonna do well. By the way, we had two people that won first place in our community in a couple of the tournaments, a couple of the best ball leagues. We had one guy. He came in here after he showed us his team. It was awesome. It was awesome, and it was awesome to hear. I love that our community is creating winners. You know, like to have two winners from last year that we know of call in and talk about their winning team is unbelievable. Harrison was one of them. Harrison, call in real quick.
That's right.
I like how Harrison. Yeah, as soon as I saw his name, I recognized him. He isn't even. His name. He just listens. He doesn't ever comment. He only commented because I called him out right now. I never see Harrison
just
speak.
In the background.
Harrison, dial in real quick. I just want to ask you your team and what you want. I forget. If you can get in the pantry or under the sink and call us if the missus will let you. She's out spending your hard-earned best ball winnings. Honey, I gotta go talk to Smitty. Oh, Harrison. Yeah, he won some cash. Justin Rush, thank you for the $5 hauler. This guy watches from two accounts. That's how much he appreciates this show. Hold on, Justin. I'm coming for you 1 second. I got Harrison on the line. Harrison
hey,
won.
What's up, Smitty?
We're talking to a winner from our community. Won a best ball tournament. We've had a few of those. Harrison, what tournament did you win? Which?
It was one of the weeklies, so it wasn't the season long. But it was funny because like last week or so, I was listening and you were talking to Ron Navy, and you're like telling him to. While he's talking about players while we're all drafting. And you're like, I wonder if anybody, would have won something had somebody not said something.
Yeah.
And actually, the week right before I won, we were all doing the weeklies, and we kept drafting the shit out of Dalton Schultz. And he scored 0.7 points that week. And I looked at my lineup, and I had a team that scored the sixth most points, and my tight end was at 0.7 points. So, I would have won $30K 2 weeks in a row.
If you had, oh man! So you won.
If I drafted anyone other than Schultz.
So you won $30K in the weeklies. Was that in one of our drafts that we were doing? Or was this in a separate draft that you did on your?
It wasn't all together. I feel like when we draft as a community, those are the times when it's more advantageous to go against the grain and draft people that necessarily not necessarily our community believes in. So just get value, and then when you draft with other people that aren't like-minded, that's when you take advantage of scooping everybody that we like way past ADP.
But my question is, did you win in a league that we drafted live on the stream, or was it a separate, one of you did it?
I want to say it was separate, but
okay.
the team was this was for week 12 or week 13, I want to say, and it was Brock Purdy at quarterback, Alvin Kamara Devon Achan,
Attaboy.
and then Debo Samuel.
Attaboy. These are all moon men, by the way,
Tyreek
practically.
Hill.
Hold on. Debo. Okay, Hill.
And then Tyreek. And then my tight end was
Laporta, man. These are we got 1, 2, 3 moon men. Was Laporta a moon man last year, or no? I don't think he was on the moon man.
No, he wasn't a moon man, but
we liked
I believe
him.
Debo.
Debo.
And Kamara.
Bro. What a squad! Like,
yeah, it was crazy. And I know you were talking about how like you were in a tournament and one touchdown happened, and then all of a sudden you dropped out like crazy points. I actually was looking at my lineup, and I looked up at my lineup, and I'm in like winning $1,000, and I look at the TV, and Brock Purdy throws a 50-yard touchdown to Debo Samuel, and I jumped from winning 1,000 to winning 30,000.
That's
and all
amazing,
I had to do
bro.
was just let the rest of the games end.
That's amazing, and that's why the stacking is advantageous if you can make it work, especially if you can get it in the right game too. But
if I would have had just Purdy or just Debo, I probably wouldn't have maintained
not
perfectly.
necessarily, because what if the QB was Hurts and he's ranked higher that week or whatever. So that's the only thing I'll tell people is like it's easy to say that this caused it, but you could have had more points out of Hurts that week than Purdy even, and been locked in early. But yeah, it is nice. But what a team, bro! What a team! And when you think about like a weekly winner. This feels like, especially, we're looking back to last year, right? We're trying to envision Kamara last year. We're trying to envision. This does feel like the kind of team that can win a weekly winner, $30K prize. I mean, this is great, bro. You did good on that. I'm proud of you.
I had the one, the week, literally the week right before this. I have the lineup somewhere. Let's see. It's so this was 1 week prior to that. My lineup was Josh Allen, Kyron Williams, Bijan Robinson, Mike Evans, Gabe Davis, and Dalton Schultz. And Dalton Schultz scored 0.7.
So Allen, Kyron, Bijan. What else?
Mike Evans, Gabe Davis, and Schultz. And that team it finished want to say 6 points shy of first place, and while having a tight end that was 0.07.
And what did you win on that one? What was it? Was you said
it went down to $200, but it was like I said, it was a 6 point difference. Like the number one player in that contest scored 150.06. And I scored 144.06 without a tight end.
Jeez, bro, that's crazy.
So literally, 2 weeks in a row, almost had the perfect lineup. But yeah, definitely, I definitely agree with you about the draft, and I think we definitely need to do a better job of not doing so much reaching it. Just to grab players that we know that you're gonna pat people on the back for having. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You definitely need to
take advantage of getting the guys that we all love, show guys. When we're not drafting together.
Yeah, I try and emphasize that point that and I do that too. Especially in this draft right here. Henry is not a guy you see me drafting over and over and over, but I let him fall. I let it fall. I got Kyron. I let it fall. Brian Thomas Jr. There's a couple guys that I do draft a lot, but I definitely got to let it fall. You can't start reaching. You can't start. I use this opportunity, as you just said, as we've said before on the show, to get different stabs at different diversified approaches that you don't get a chance to because you're stubborn and you want to grab those show guys that we talk about on the show all the time. I 100% agree. So, but like you just said, we got so many opportunities off the show to do what we want to do. Why not take these stabs at new opportunities? But great story, bro. I'm glad you called in. It's so funny. I mentioned you and you're right there. I know you don't comment a lot.
Oh yeah,
but-
always watching. I don't know. I don't always chime in, but I'm always watching.
Yeah, nice team. I'm looking at these two teams, and they feel it, bro. Allen, Kyron, Bijan, Gabe Davis, Schultz, Evans. Who's your other receiver? You had to have another receiver. Schultz, Gabe Davis, Evans, and
No, it was Gabe Davis, Mike Evans, and then so I did 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, tight end, because it's
oh yeah,
the weeklies or whatnot.
yeah, nice job, bro.
But that week was Josh Allen scored 41, Kyron 35, Bijan 26,
Has
Mike
anybody?
Evans 22.
I said this the other night. Has anybody ever won 2 weeks? I mean, it was only last year was the first weeklies. Did anybody win 2 weeks? I don't think anybody repeated, right?
No, I think I was definitely the closest to doing so.
And I said the other night, didn't I, Travis, that the likelihood of a person repeating, I bet, comes from this community. Because I think the reason I say that is because my whole philosophy is to do a lot of the same drafts in certain segments. I call it my brute force draft approach. So like I'll essentially draft over and over and over the same kind of team, but you're naturally going to get different variants of it because you're going to have a different draft slot. Someone's going to snipe you. Someone's going to fall that didn't fall last time. But you're creating different variants of it. Kind of like when you fill out an NCAA bracket, you fill out one and you like it. And you're like, damn, I like it, but I kind of want to, what if this team advances and it changes just slightly? So you do another bracket, right? And then you go, okay, what if I take a fork in the road on this one? So it's similar to that. I don't like to do it all year long, but maybe in one contest or maybe for 2 straight weeks, draft the same kind of team over and over and over, but then the next week start doing a different approach and then get a bunch of variants of that. And then, and the other reason I think that we're going to get somebody that smashes two weeks out of the 17 in the weeklies is because even when people aren't trying to deploy that approach that I coin brute force drafting, they're still going to be over drafting the same team over and over. So when the Moon Men or the show players do land and have an unbelievable year to a degree we've never seen before, maybe that's 1 out of 4 years we land like 70% of them versus 50 or 60. The year we explode like the year Breece Hall tore his ACL, the year Javonte tore his ACL. Like, had we had some of the other things happen that, like that with what did land, like St. Brown, we landed so much that year, and some of our biggest predictions went down the toilet. Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, we had so much get kicked right in the nutsack. Had we landed all of those things and didn't get hit with injury, I bet you that's the kind of year that's going to have one of our repetitive drafters that's reaching over and over, drafting the same team. They're going to win like 2 weeks, and it's going to be Harrison. Although Harrison sounds like he's got a good head on his shoulders, and he diversifies.
Yeah, I don't do a whole lot of reaching. Like, just for example, like I was in a draft with the community here, I want to say last night, and let's see if I can pull it up, but I literally, all of my picks were people that were 5 to 12 picks past ADP. And it was all just because, they're not people that we hype up on the show.
What is it, the puppy 2? Was it the puppy 2?
Yeah, let's see if I can find it.
I think I can pull it up too. But that's what I'm trying to tell people. This is good we're having this conversation because I really can't get anybody to listen to me. That when we're drafting, they just can't help themselves. They're taking Ricky Pearsall 15 draft slots. What's your sleeper name?
It's just Harrison.
Yeah, you're in the one spot. You're in the one spot.
Yeah.
You took McCaffrey, Ayuk, Adams, Pittman, A. Richardson, Keenan Allen, George Kittle.
Yeah, if you can click on my team so it shows the ADPs. If not, no big deal.
Yeah,
but like
in this setting,
a lot of them are way past ADP.
I mean, it's a good team. I think
it's not the best team. It's not players that I have a lot of exposure to. But I thought I'd make a point to bring it up and say
not my favorite team you drafted.
I have maybe 1 or 2% Brandon Ayuk, but he fell, I want to say, 4 or 5 spots past where he normally goes. Same thing with Adams, 3-4 spots. Pittman was like 15 spots. I reached 5 or so picks on Richardson. Keenan Allen was like, I want to say 15 picks past.
Yeah,
ADP.
there's a couple
Kittle
players
was
on
right
here
at.
I don't love, but like that doesn't mean this team can't do well. But I think these teams that you have on this board right here, like even in retrospect, even knowing what we knew and what we didn't know, like these two teams in weeklies are. I love weeklies. It's my favorite contest. I'm gonna max out weeklies, and we're gonna do a lot more weeklies drafting. But this is phenomenal.
I do have a
this is
good
a phenomenal
tip and trick for weeklies.
Yeah, hit me with it.
So every time that I do weeklies, I always look at like the top 12 people that are going in ADP, because weeklies ADP is obviously, with what's going on, is kind of a little somewhat accurate. Players that are hot and whatnot. So what I do is I go through the first 12 picks or so, and I go, who's gonna bust, or which one of these players is least or most likely to bust, and I take exposure of other players on the same team that may be able to score more points. So say like if I don't believe in Tyreek Hill for a week and he's going as the number 1 player, I'll be drafting a ton of Achane or Mostert.
Yeah, I like that approach. That's good. The weeklies are so tough because like you got to decide what strategy you want to use, and there's the strategy of drafting the best team possible to try and give yourself 17 chances to hit a home run, or there's a strategy of trying to like do what you said, chew 8 pieces of gum and walk 8 different directions at the same time, and try and do that, but also keep in mind week 14, week 15. But yeah, that is an interesting way to do it as well. In weeklies, I might want to add that we've got Jahmyr Gibbs at the 13 overall, which is crazy. We have Achane a little bit higher at 16 than normal. We got Derrick Henry at 18, which is higher than normal. Kyron Williams at 22. He's a lot different ADP because people are okay with injuries, in the long term, because you're getting, let's say he plays 7 games as a top running back and then gets hurt, like you're getting that. Weeklies I love because you don't have to mess with the whole like look at this data here, look at that, and have these arguments with people constantly. It's like like an oasis away from all of the best ball madness. I think it's such a fun. I mean, the stacking's still important. I mean, you see Purdy and Debo here, but there's definitely more of an opportunity to get away from some of those trends that people try and force down your throat, and you get to kind of say, where's the value at? Where's the value at? Let me get players together that, I can look deeply at each of these weeks, or I could say I don't have time for that in this particular draft. I'm just going to draft the best players available. These are teams that I would assemble myself. These are amazing teams. I love these teams. I think weeklies is your forte for sure. So keep smashing, bro, and call in more, Harrison. All right.
Yeah. One last quick question. I was just curious and thinking about some strategy for like weekly winners, and what do you think of? I've done this a couple of times, but what do you think of like drafting Jalen Hurts and Travis Kelce and not touching another quarterback or tight end the rest of the draft and just rolling with the
It's definitely an approach that can burn you or give you the extra shot at a player that makes you a lot more dangerous, right? But you got to ask yourself the question of like, okay, so that tight end that you could get in Isaiah Likely in round, like where the hell is he going? Like round 14, 15? Is that player really worth having that extra stab in the dark on the bench? If you believe that, that to be true, you're getting, like, let's say Mahomes is your quarterback or Hurts is your quarterback, like you said, the likelihood of you getting at least 5, 6, 7 weeks without any sort of injury is still high, right? So you have a bunch of,
what I was thinking.
Yeah, you could have a bunch of good.
The likelihood of like both of them being tight end one and QB one the same week might be pretty high likelihood.
But the data, the dreaded data, does, if I remember correctly, in the weeklies, doesn't necessarily reflect that the winner, that you're more likely to be, in the top 10 finishing by having one QB. They didn't seem to trend very well. But again, I caution people.
You still have to win your bracket.
Well, no. Well, in weeklies, I'm talking about. In weeklies, you you don't. Even though you have Mahomes, right? Let's see if Mahomes or Hurts, right? And Hurts was a good example of it because he was QB 6 11 weeks out of the 17. But here's the problem. Like, there's always a counterpoint, right? There's no right or wrong. If you have this team right here, look at this team right here. If you had Josh Allen have a bad game, but for some reason you had Kirk Cousins there and he had a monster game, like, you might have been looking at your team going, if I would have added 35 points or 32 points, I would have won the first place prize. And Allen had a bad game or whatever. So it's like, you're right. You might end up having that extra player instead of Isaiah Likely to give yourself this rotation. But look at this team. Nobody cracked either one of these lineups that was a scrub, that was a 14th or 15th round pick. Your ballers stepped up for the weekly winners. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, it's tough to argue. Like, the one QB, one tight end approach definitely could work. The advantage of not having that Isaiah Likely or, let's say, a Aaron Rodgers around 13 or 12 or whatever, that player you're getting there, they didn't show up in either one of your teams. You know what I mean? Tough to say. Tough to say. But hey, bro, don't let that stray you away from trying it in a handful of drafts, because you might be the one guy that does it, and then everybody's talking about how just because nobody did it, think about it from this perspective. Just because the data says that doesn't work, what is the likelihood people tried that? It sounded crazy to probably a lot of people that are got their nose in the data. They're strict, Stevens. They're going by the data. Data doesn't show that. And here you are, the best person trying to try it out, while anybody else reckless enough to do it is not a good drafter. And so the data looks very bad for it. But should you pluck 2 or 3 veteran best ball weekly winner players and say, you're a veteran, it's only been out a year, but very good producing like you, and said, hey, why don't you try this? You probably would do a way better job than the people that tried it last year that the data says is a garbage approach. You know what I mean? So don't listen to the data, bro. Try it. Try it in 3 or 4 drafts. I'm just saying that you might need the backup quarterback as much as you need that player that may not crack these lineups. That's all I'm going to say. But I would try a couple of them, bro.
No, I definitely try and keep my own thoughts and kind of go against the grain when necessary. So, yeah, I definitely, like a lot of the show guys, but there's certain times to get them and certain times to not. So I don't know. I think it's definitely a strategy worth trying out. You never know.
Definitely do a bunch of different approaches, bro. Don't let that data scare you away, man. You might be the only one that is even remotely experienced trying that strategy out, because everyone's deathly afraid to waste an entry on it. And so, like, how many good people are really trying it? Like, that's the important. If it's like a 1% chance of advancing, or something like that, it doesn't like, it really doesn't matter, because no one's trying it. It's such a small population. I bet you the amount of people trying that is in the 4%, or maybe in weeklies there are people that are thinking outside the box enough to try it. I guess maybe like 8 to 10% of the entries, maybe 5, are probably trying that one QB, one tight end. I think people are probably deathly afraid of what the data said last year. So do it, smash it, and maybe. It depends on who you pick, though. Let's say Ricky Pearsall's
I wouldn't do it with any just any players. But like, if you still happen to fall on a value of, say, Hurts flipping 5 picks past ADP, and then in the same draft Kelsey falling 5 picks past ADP, you just lock down those 2, and then you just say, hey, maybe 3 weeks or 4 weeks out of the year, I'll have the number 1 QB and the same week number 1 tight end.
But what happens what happens? Yeah, I do want you to try it. I'm going to try it too. But what happens if your team is straight fire and Mahomes goes down and is injured, and you could have drafted Joe Burrow in round 8, or you could have drafted Kirk Cousins in like 10 or 11 or 12 and got Penix Jr. with him, and then you had another 8 chances to win, big cash money. It's a give and a take. You just got to really love those players. Like, let's say Ricky Parasol is the wide receiver that you're getting because you don't go an extra quarterback. Let's say the running back is Braylon Allen, and you just think he's going to, knock on wood, get like, starts and be a monster. Like, it's got to be a difference maker. It can't be Chuba Hubbard like we were talking about earlier. It can't be a player like, it's worth taking Isaiah Likely. It's worth taking Kirk Cousins over a Jerry Jeudy, or like I don't know, an extra Rashad Bateman, or even like a Demario Douglas, or honestly even like a Troy Franklin. I don't think Troy Franklin's going to be a part of the 30K.
He is one of my highest owned players this year.
I don't know. Well,
I can't stop drafting Troy Franklin, and I can't stop drafting Brendan Rice with my last pick.
I'd be careful with Rice because he could get you literally zeros for handfuls of weeks. In weeklies, okay.
The thing is, Smitty, is it's not that I'm so much in love with Brendan Rice. It's that I'm not in love with any of the other wide receivers on that team. So that's what I'm talking about when you go against the grain, or say, like, if you're clearly fading somebody on a team, like, obviously somebody else is going to step up to the plate. So I don't know. That's just my logic.
Yeah,
If
I
I'm
hear you.
fading
I hear you.
somebody,
Trust your gut on the guys you like. Trust your gut on the guys you like. But yeah, I'm not into Brandon Rice that much. I like him, but I think that's a crowded room. McConkey, I do think, is going to be the guy that absorbs the most.
Tough offense, yeah.
It's a tough, but
just, and just while we're on the last pick topic, another last pick that I'm really liking is Justice Hill. I mean, he's there every single last pick. And what's his face? Mitchell is coming off the torn ACL and not looking like he's ready.
So,
Rasheen Ali.
Yeah, like.
What do you think his upside is?
I like Ali a little more.
Just curious.
I have heard that name quite a bit recently. I don't know. Justice Hill looked solid in college. He was a do-it-all back, and he looked good when he got opportunity last year. I play in a 14-man league for the last 10 years with my friends, and so I feel like being in a 14-man league, you learn a lot of the bottom feeders that are willing or able to go on your flex spot and give you that 7-8 points or so.
Hill's had flashes. He's definitely shown flashes when he's had shots. I always thought he was going to be really good when he came out of college.
I did too.
All right, hey, got to let you run. Harrison, call him more, bro. We'll see you later.
For sure. Appreciate you guys. Have a good night.
Later. Let's see here. How many of you all got HN and Monster for, what's it say? How many of you all got HN and Mostert for one,
I think he's saying cuff them together. I think that's what he's getting at.
I don't know what he's even asking. If you're trying to make fun of HN by any means, the guy that was just on the phone won $30,000 with HN in his roster. So I hope that's not what you're trying to do right now. I really hope for your sake you're not trying to do that. It's gonna look real bad for you. It's gonna look real bad for you, bro. Justin with the $5 holler. We appreciate you going this long. Night Owls to the moon. What are your thoughts on the QB and the Aaron Rodgers, Mayfield, Levis range? I like Aaron Rodgers the most. Probably from that group. Yeah, HN to the moon, Harris, for sure. God, HN's a smash. He's so good, bro. I love the haters. The haters are amazing. Justin, appreciate you watching from 2 different YouTube channels. He's doing his job. I don't like Mayfield a lot. Levis is interesting, though. I'll tell you that Levis is a wild card. You want to go Levis instead of A-Rod, I don't really blame you. And I might do it in one league for sure. But Aaron Rodgers, I'm expecting a Garrett Wilson unleashing. Yeah, I hope you would. I hope you're not trying to. HN to the moon.
HN. HN is the man. His haters call him small.
But he is 9 feet tall.
A-Chan is the man.
All right, Travis, I got to get out of here. Appreciate you, bro. I think we have one more super chat from Justin, right? He said, my favorite part about the show is when Smitty is...
Yep.
And I can't even read, it's so small. P.S. I had a hard time getting in my Gmail at work. This is my burner. Okay. Appreciate you, bro.
Yeah.
Justin to the moon.
I think last thing I'll say, I think we got to get A-Chain that song to him. I could see him running out on the field to it.
Can you imagine?
Make it his theme music.
Yeah. I got 2 player interviews that are set up. I got 2 player interviews that are set up to gonna blow your guys' mind if it happens, but it doesn't. These guys cancel so easy. They're so busy. Like,
hard to nail it down.
You could literally say I can go live at any moment, and I've got it set up. I was gonna have Eckler on last year. It ended up working last second. It didn't work. This year we have a couple. I have a lot of like retired players that can come on anytime. We've had Danny Woodhead. We've talked with Eric Davis on Instagram. We've talked with Ronnie Brown has come on the show, former Dolphin running back. Superfish would have loved that. We've had Dwayne Barry, or Damian Barry. Dwayne Barry, that's from X-Files. Damian Barry. We've had Coach Hugh Jackson on, who trashed me to pieces. and Jamar Chase is that's a tough, tall order for the Bengals to be the best team in their division. Coach, I think they're going to be the best team in their division. I'm not saying that you're wrong, but that's a tall order, and I think we're on the same page. We're not on the same page. I think they should draft Jamar Chase. I think we're on the same page. We're not on the same page. AJ Green?
That was my favorite part. You kept trying to say, well, I think we're on the same page, and he's like, no, we're not.
We're not on the same page. And I'm like, I think you're going to be surprised at what Jamar Chase alone does to this offense. They make it to the Super Bowl. They win their division. Oh, man. That was good. My favorite part was when I said that they needed Jamar Chase more than they needed Penei Sewell, because they could coach up the tight end position or the offensive line and draft someone great in round 2, and it obviously worked. I don't care what anybody says about Joe Burrow's gotten hurt or whatever. Yeah. They made it to the Super Bowl, okay, that year. So let's stop. But he said when he said they already got receivers, and I'm like, well, Coach, he goes AJ Green. I go AJ Green. He goes, he's sitting back in his chair. I'm like, AJ Green, he's washed. He goes, AJ Green, no, I coached him. He's still a good player. Yeah. He still commands a lot of respect in this league. What do you have, like 400 yards?
Yeah.
Oh, Hugh.
Yeah.
Poor Hugh.
You missed on that one.
I think he thought I was some flying by the seat of my pants. Just started talking about football.
Yeah.
When Hugh Jackson's been coaching forever. But he actually entered the NFL, I think, 1 year before I got into this industry, fantasy football, professionally. So we've actually been in the NFL space the same exact amount of time. 20 plus years. So he thought he was dancing with some novice, but he was he didn't realize I was leading the dance.
It's probably hard for some of those guys to see, like, when a guy like AJ Green, if they're not with him every day anymore. It's probably hard for them to see when the wheels are actually falling off, because they're so used to what he was and seeing him every day, and in his defense, I guess, but still, that was just swinging a miss for him.
Yeah, All right, Travis, I got to go. Appreciate you, bro.
Yeah.
Later.
Thanks, Smitty. Later.
All right, guys, I'm out of here. Appreciate all my super chatters. Cody, Rag, Superfish, Cody, Mantis, Justin Rush with the doubles, and celebratory messages. None. Oh, no, maybe we do. Hold on. No celebratory messages. And then gifted memberships. Do we have any tonight? I don't know if we did or not. Thank you for the 7 super chats tonight. Thank you for the super chats earlier. Go watch the earlier live stream on the 4 biggest steals in like the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round territory in fantasy football 2024. Appreciate you all. Don't forget to hit that code Smitty Underdog Fantasy. I'll drop it in the live chat right this second. Here's the code one more time for Underdog Fantasy, promo code Smitty. Also, don't forget to join the Discord. The Discord is where it's at. That's where our community. Sorry, not the Discord. I keep saying that. We closed the Discord. The Patreon. I'm so used to saying that. We got rid of the Discord and got the Patreon. And I know a lot of people were wondering what happened to the Discord. Or not a lot of people, because it started to become a toxic place. This is not. This is the Patreon. Let me show you the screen right here. The Patreon is unbelievable. It's where our community lives now going forward. Off the stream, before the stream, during the stream. Join my Patreon and you get into this 240-man league where the 11 winners of the 11 different leagues that we're going to have, so 242 people, the 11 winners go into a dynasty draft with me, a 2025 dynasty startup. There's the link to the Patreon, and you want to be a part of this. So hit that link, become a Patreon member. Appreciate every single one of you. I'll see you all tomorrow. Live whenever news breaks. Monday through Friday, I'm live at 8 p.m. Eastern. Every single Monday through Friday, I'm live whenever big news breaks, and I go live most midnights to draft with you fine folks. See you all later. Thank you to my moderators. Thank you, Travis. Thank you, Space Ricky. Thank you, Blackbeard. Thank you, whoever else is in here moderating. Thank you, Superfish, for being here always. Thank you, Sebastian, being on the phone line. Thank you, everybody else that's in here. Southwest to the moon. Harrison, appreciate you calling more often, pal. Our 30K weekly winner community member. Xavier Ramos says this community was 100%. I love this comment. This community was 100% first on HN. You can't deny that freaking comment right there. That's glory. All right, deuces.